All right, we'll jump back into reacts, and I don't know. This might be the first one that I post. We'll see. But I'm sorry I haven't been doing them as much. It's just I keep prioritizing weekend review stuff ahead of reacts, and then at the end of the day, I just don't have any reacts to post and or just anything to post on the TV channel. And it's like, all right, we got to stop doing that. So I'm trying my best, people. So apologies. I hope you accept it. But the next video we're going to watch today is from Havoc, and we'll go ahead and link the video to you right away. I got to be better at this too. I actually forgot how to do reacts. And it's titled, What Survival in Star Citizen Could Really Look Like. And that is an interesting title because I think a lot of people are drawn. Star Citizen looks like a survival game. The moment you get out of a spaceship, it looks like a survival game, right? So I think a lot of people are drawn to that feel and that kind of existing. And there's little elements of it with food and drink, but I have a feeling this video is going to be polarizing because people don't want survival mechanics in Star Citizen. I've seen it for years, but God, it does add to it sometimes, right? It's weird. But the problem with survival mechanics in a game like Star Citizen is, for people who do not want survival mechanics are kind of unavoidable, right? So if you were to say, like, it's totally different than PvP versus PvE arguments. Like, because the easy argument is, all right, well, there's no PvP in this area, and there's PvP in that area, and then the people who don't want to do it can go over here, and the people who do want to do it can go over there. Like, that's like the easy solution to that problem, right? There's no solution to having survival mechanics because you're going to have them over here and you're going to have them over there. And so, yeah, this is interesting. But he seems very strongly on it and why it matters. So it matters a lot to him. And let's see what this is all about.
What would you do if your ship crashed on a remote moon or planet and no one was coming to save you? No comms, no power, no food. Just
backspace. Yeah, I just hit backspace because there's no consequences. What about you?
Just a broken ship, limited food and water, and the creeping realization that you're completely alone. Star Citizen has always promised danger, but survival gameplay could finally make that danger feel real.
Oh, people are going to hate
this video. Leans into everything that they've shown: radiation, environmental hazards, life support, power, and crafting. Then survival won't just be another gameplay loop. It'll be the system that holds everything together. And honestly, I think it could be one of the best parts of the game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it could be one of the best parts of the game, but you have to remember, it won't hold everything together for everybody, right? People are going to hate the ideas that are going to come in this video for sure.
Survival gameplay is one of the most underdeveloped yet potentially game-changing systems in Star Citizen. And the truth is, much of it is likely already on the horizon. Radiation was confirmed during last year's CitizenCon, and once the full resource management
2 years ago, yeah, he puts it there at the bottom, and saying something is confirmed from a CitizenCon PowerPoint demo that they don't actually work on is a little dicey.
System is finally implemented in a future patch, ships will begin to behave like actual environments. Opening a door in a vacuum will vent your atmosphere. Leave it open too long and the internal temperature will drop to match the exterior. Life support, power routing, and thermal management will matter. Suddenly your ship becomes more than just a ride. It becomes your last line of defense. From radiation exposure and suit power failures to crafting components by hand and calling for rescue that may never come. These aren't just side systems. They could completely...
Crafting components by hand is not something that has ever been mentioned ever. Okay, attention. Attention. We have a dog that wants attention. But yeah, so crafting components by hand has never been something that has been talked about, and I don't think ever will. So, yeah.
We reshape how we explore, recover, and survive when everything goes wrong. If you've ever wondered what might happen if CIG lets storms force your ship to land, or introduces crash landings that leave you stranded on a hostile moon or planet, then this is the video that you'll want to see. Survival in Star Citizen doesn't begin when you're starving or freezing. It starts the moment things stop going according to plan.
Sure.
Maybe you pushed a little too far out on your last jump, only to run out of quantum fuel in deep space. Maybe a dust storm slammed into your descent path over a barren desert planet and threw your ship into the canyon wall. Or maybe a solar flare rolled through Pyro just as you were EVAing outside your hole. That's when survival kicks in. Not when it's convenient, but when it's least expected. And once you're grounded, it's not just about the ship anymore. It's about the suit on your back, the gear you brought, and whether you planned for the worst. You might be kilometers away from your wrecked ship.
It just straight up comes down to how the fuck do you get off the planet, bro? Like, the way the game's designed is it doesn't matter if there's survival mechanics, because the moment your ship is non-functional, if you can't fix it, and you can't, like somebody said, call a taxi, you can't do that unless you have friends. Like, it's not like you could collect wood and stone and build a new ship like in other other survival games. What do? You literally backspace. So the game that has been designed, right in front of you, even though there are all these little pieces that work entirely separately from each other, by the way, even though they're there, they don't equal survival anything. So for me, like, survival aspects are more simple. It's just the, like, hey, eating and drinking will give you benefits and have some negatives if you don't do it. And, eventually death or whatever. And then the hot and cold, like the choice of armor that's being worn here is a choice that you, like, aren't currently, like, forced into enough and maybe should be. Like, hot armor, like, kind of being a requirement on hot planets and things like that. That's more what I'm talking about, is more, hey, I have a plan. We're going here. All right, well, if we're planning for that, then we need to bring these things. And if, because he's more like, my ship crashed, and then, Star Citizen Valheim edition begins. And it's just like, that's not a thing. And, it would be cool if it was like a side shoot game or something like that. But, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this one.
With hydration levels dropping rapidly. And that ache in your side, it's not going away. We already know radiation is coming, but it's not meant to be a temporary annoyance. It's going to have lasting effects on the player. You might not notice it right away. Maybe you get a little dizzy, your stamina drops faster, and later your health starts degrading more quickly.
I haven't watched a Havoc video in a while, so let me come in with this caveat, and hopefully, you haven't clicked off or something like that. A lot of what he's done in his videos over the last little while it's like imagine stuff. It's imagine if this is what happened. Wouldn't that be cool? Instead of this is what's going to happen, even though he did say, like, radiation's going to happen and it's going to have lasting effects. We don't know,
Eventually, repeated exposure could start affecting your imprint viability score, the very system tied to how and if you regenerate.
Like, we have no idea.
So even if you do survive, the next time you die, you might not come back the same. Now, let's say you're injured. A misstep or a steep drop fractures your leg. Or maybe you took a hard fall after an EVA mishap and your vitals are dropping. You've got one shot, a med gun. You inject yourself, stabilize the bleed or the fracture, but that only buys you time. These tools don't entirely heal you. They patch you up enough to move on. The real fix? You need a med bed, and if your ship is offline or you're nowhere near one, your options narrow fast.
Yeah,
in a fully realized survival system, the severity of your injury could dictate everything. A limp slows you down. Internal bleeding could flare back up. A broken arm might just mean that you can't use two-handed tools. The more time you spend without treatment, the more fragile you become. It creates a gameplay loop built on tension, improvisation, and decision.
Okay. So far, things don't sound that bad if you ignore the fact that this is what Star Citizen is if you crash on a planet in a random place with nothing for now. There's no bases. If there are locations on the planet, they are thousands of kilometers apart from each other. So, minimum like 500, right? How do you get from one to the other? Like, if I crashed here, I'm not walking anywhere. I'm not creating a speeder and getting somewhere. You are stranded here, and it would take days of walking in the game, and you would run out of food and drink by the time you did, right? It's super wishful thinking here, but there's that huge piece of the puzzle that's missing is where do you go? Or air or whatever. Like, no matter what, you will run out of something before you get to where you're trying to go, and you will die. So that's why everybody hits backspace. So we're only 4 minutes into a 15-minute video. He has to come up with a solution for that problem in order for any of this stuff to exist. If your ship is done, you are done. And that's, I've made these arguments a lot of your ship. And I think this is the direction they're going in, is your ship can't be done. It can't be irreplaceable. It can't be, or irreparable, I should say. Like, once it goes down, you should hopefully have some repair ability to get it back up and running after you've crashed it on a planet. Like, if we go back to CitizenCon where they showed the 2023, where they showed the two ships smashing together, the Gladiuses with Maelstrom, and they broke into like 1,000 Lego pieces. That can't be what we have. And I said that from the moment I saw that. I was like, that is going completely against what needs to happen. Because then you are insta-dead. There is no survival. There is no replace. Like, it is... That ship has to be 100% replaced instead of fixed. And you have to be able to fix your ship. That's the part of survival mechanics that needs to exist. Not all this eating, drinking, pooping, hot, cold as much. You need to be able to revive your ship and get back out there. And maybe you do that by finding things around you. That would be the survival aspects to me. But hopefully we get to the ship part, because the ship is you. No matter how much you're Star Citizen does the first person thing where you get in and out and you're the player, not the ship. The ship is everything still, right?
Decision making. Do you push towards your ship across open terrain, hoping your med gun holds out? Or do you shelter in place, pray for rescue, and conserve resources? This is where survival becomes more than just...
That's an aspect I didn't think of. What if you're able to create a temporary shelter where you are? What if you're able to create food and drink where you are, where you've crashed? It's possible, especially on Pyro where you don't need to register anything with the UEE. That might be possible. That's an interesting survival mechanic that could work with Star Citizen. And do what? Wait. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, like I said, it's no matter what, there's still the element of I got to get back to my ship to be able to do anything, right? So
just a side feature. It becomes the story you tell afterward. The time you made it out alive with a broken leg, no food, and a dying battery. Or the time that you didn't.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a shit on
now,
some
if you
potatoes.
enjoy these deep dives like this, where we go beyond the surface and explore how these systems could actually change the way we play, consider subscribing. I've got more breakdowns coming just like this, and your support helps keep them going. But let's move on to how the world might just fight back.
Weather hazards and dangerous world. Okay, so now
Star
it's getting
Citizen's
even worse.
planets already look dangerous, but imagine if they truly were. Because right now we're still missing two of the most impactful systems that could reshape survival: dynamic weather and environmental hazards. Imagine touching down on Microtech just before a storm rolls in. Visibility drops to 0, snow begins to accumulate on your hull, and temperatures plunge well below survivable levels. You're stuck on the ground because the storm winds are too strong to lift off, and you didn't bring a shelter or a thermal suit. This wouldn't just be for show. With working life support system and the future resource network system, CIG is already building the framework for real consequences. Open a door during a blizzard and your ship's internal temperature could begin to fall, matching the outside conditions.
Okay.
You might need to route power, regulate pressure, and maintain breathable air on your ship. It turns your ship into a survival chamber, and
damn, but like, hey, I got insurance on my ship, I got insurance on my armor, I got insurance on everything. I went to the pledge store, I got my gene sequencing pack, and I'm able to, backspace as many times as I want without consequence of losing my player. So guess what? I'm good, dude. Yeah, I'll just backspace and I'll keep playing.
turns every open hatch into a calculated risk. After all, at some point, oxygen could become finite on your ship. Storms could also directly affect your ship's systems. Electrical surges might disable your shields.
Is this an old video? It's 5 days ago.
Knock your thrusters offline. Even lightning could overload a power relay and force a shutdown until it's repaired. Or automated systems like airlocks or doors could fail mid-use, leaving you exposed to the elements. Then there's radiation pockets, toxic gas vents, searing heat, and solar storms, the kind we expect to see in Pyro. These hazards aren't just environmental flavor, they're survival threats. A solar storm, for example, could shut down your suit's electronics and make navigation impossible. If you're caught unprotected, it may also impact your imprint viability.
Yeah, I mean, he loves survival games, and you could tell, and that's great, because they're amazing. Oh my god. Valheim's one of the best games I've ever played in my life. And the issue, though, is he still hasn't addressed the ship as much. He is, because he's talking about the, hey, if I open my ship door and it's really cold outside, I might not be able to regulate the temperature in the ship and so on. But yeah, he still hasn't given me a reason to not backspace. And I think if CIG was to implement this stuff, let's say, not that I think it would be a good idea for them to do so far. I'm sorry, Havoc, I love you, but I don't agree with like 99% of the stuff that you've said so far. The issue would be if CIG made consequences for hitting backspace because it was the workaround from playing the awful game they created, then they would just have a more awful game, right? And everything that is laid out in front of you, so he's going, all right, survival games are cool because there's all these problems in front of you, right? That you have to solve. And there's a lot of there's this element of a struggle in survival games. But in a survival game, you kind of stay put. Like you're like, all right, I started the game. Oh, I have no food, I have no clothes, I have nothing. And then you kind of choose your base, right? And then you build that base up, and it gets less of a struggle as you go. So far, I have just heard him explain all of the problems that would be laid in front of us and maybe how we would solve them, but never how over time it would get easier. Does that make sense? Because that's the thing, that's the progression in a survival game, is you start out and things are really kind of annoying, and the moment that you like level up in some way, let's say going from like bronze tools to steel tools, and you're able to, mine more, or like different type of weapon, and that thing that you could not kill, you can now kill. I haven't heard any of that in this discussion. None of that. I have heard your ship crashes, and then you're late in, you have all these problems in front of you, and that's kind of been it, right? But like the hallmark of a survival game is that feeling of progression from like I had nothing to I created something, right? And in a survival game, you don't just like hit backspace and then go back to a city, right? So this is a challenge that we have to get past here.
Or it could outright kill you. And it's the death itself that takes the toll, chipping away at your imprint viability one traumatic respawn at a time. And what happens when your ship takes a hit during one of these events? This is where emergency repairs come into play. Whether you took damage from weather, radiation, or a bad landing,
okay, here we go.
Survival means getting your ship back online.
All right, he gets
not
it.
just waiting to die. In space, you might need to EVA with a multi-tool, reroute power manually through the resource network, replace a burned out component, or close a hull breach before your air vents into space. That's where survival gameplay shines, not in creating more loops, but in forcing you to solve problems under pressure.
Yes, and I think that's the only place it can exist in Star Citizen. I feel like is within your ship and less so out of it.
The tools that you have. Because when the world fights back, survival isn't just immersive. It's personal.
All right, here's going to be some super copium. This says crafting to survive.
Now, survival in Star Citizen won't just be about staying alive. It'll be about making do with what's left when everything else fails. We already have hostile fauna in-game now, with more coming. And if CIG follows through, it won't just be ambient life forms pacing around like what we had before server meshing. Predators could hunt in packs, track you by heat signatures or sound, and force you to think carefully about where you land and when you move.
In order for that to work, the game would literally have to track where we were on a planet at all times and spawn stuff on us instead of spawning on the planet itself. And that doesn't exist. And I don't think it ever will. I don't think it will in any resemblance of the short term. So, I do think that the game tracks where we are. We've seen that before, but the game doesn't spawn. Well, that's not entirely true. If you've gone to Hathor, enemies spawn as soon as you land, but I think that's a bug, right? They literally spawn on your ship and start shooting it. Maybe that's the start of something like that. And then they don't have to spawn as many random cows everywhere and they could spawn on you. But yeah. Yeah, that could be something that then this would work. Because every planet and moon in Star Citizen is on a single player FPS scale. Once you leave the ship, is completely empty. Unless you are at a location that CIG has designed, it is vast, empty nothingness. And there is nothing to collect. There's nothing to craft. There's nothing to eat. There's nothing to drink. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to kill. It's just you looking around and sound, right? Visuals and sound. That's it. So they would have to change things drastically for something like that to work. And that could be cool. I'm not saying that they won't do it. I'm honestly saying that that's probably how they should do it.
You might not even know they're nearby until it's too late. But they aren't your only threat. If your ship is damaged, engines blown, components fried, you might find yourself grounded with...
Oh, I knew this copium was coming. I was just waiting for it, Star Mage. Oh, boy. Soon, planets will be filled with 3,000 locations with their planet tech and all spots in between with player bases. Again, can I walk between those? Can I walk? Do you understand the scale of a planet and moon? It's still at the scale of a spaceship. I don't even think a lot of that stuff was at the scale of a vehicle based on what we saw at CitizenCon. It will solve a problem for missions, but it will not solve a problem that, this video is just creating out of, the clouds, essentially, right?
No spare subcomponents, no working backup, and no help
Scarlet.
coming. That's when crafting stops being a side feature and becomes your lifeline. You'd have to step outside, multi-tool in hand, and start scanning for salvageable materials, metallic deposits, synthetic compounds, or rare planetary resources.
They're 10,000 kilometers apart. How are we going to find that stuff on foot? This is the only way that survival mechanics would exist in Star Citizen. But they would have to fundamentally change the way everything works. So it comes down to this. Instead of laughing at him and making fun of his ideas here, suspend some disbelief and say, would the game be more fun if that was possible? Right? If at maybe small scales, or if it spawned like on you when you were around it, would the ability, like if I'm on a desert planet, for things to collect be more available on a walking scale, on a driving scale, on a flying around in the geo scale? I think that would be great for the game. I think that would be absolutely fantastic for the game. I don't know if it's possible, but I think that would make the game better. Because what makes Star Citizen special is sometimes you're in a ship and sometimes you're out of it. And unless you're at and this is why I think Star Citizen is still very much theme parky, unless you are out of your ship at a theme park location, there's nothing to do. So would that make a better game? My argument would be yes. Reason being is, wouldn't it be really nice to just kind of fly somewhere, find your own little pocket on a planet or moon, and just kind of do your own thing? And like maybe play outside of the mission system, maybe just run around, scavenge shit. Like, they said it's a sandbox. You got to put sand in the sandbox, and that's kind of the argument that I'm making here, is if you get out of your ship and just walk around and there's nothing, well, there's no sand then, right? That's no sand. So as much as like what Ian showed at CitizenCon was cool, it doesn't solve this problem.
That could be refined or broken down into crafting components. And here's the catch. If your suit has no power, your scanner might not work. You'll be blind with no mineral overlay, no terrain analysis, and no way to know what's under your feet. You're just guessing in the dirt. Armor batteries confirmed by CIG as future subcomponents aren't just for environmental protection.
There is nothing to do on IRL planet surfaces out there as well. Star Citizen's not real life, dude. It's a fucking video game. I love when I explain like what would make a fun video game. Somebody always, whether it's YouTube comments or Twitch comments, will say, well, that's not how real life works.
They may power your HUD, life support, temperature regulation, and your ability to interact with the world. If your suit goes dark, so do your chances of finding what you need. Now, assuming you can gather materials, the next hurdle is, can you craft what you need? Do you have a portable workbench on board, or a fabrication kit? If not, maybe you'll need to craft that first, assuming the system allows for it.
Yeah.
You might have to source basic components just to build the tools you need to begin a proper repair. And if crafting isn't possible where you are, your only option may be to find a derelict outpost or mining site and hope it still has a functioning terminal you can use. That's not a detour, that's a desperate mission. Even if you do manage to build what you need, survival is still a balancing act. You're managing power cells, medical tools, food, hydration, gear condition, and now predators too. Fauna itself might force you to make hard choices. Travel during the day where they're active but visible, or try your luck at night, when your flashlight makes you a beacon. The survival loop in Star Citizen doesn't need to be a hard reset of the core experience.
Sorry, my mouth.
It just needs to ask the right questions. Are you prepared? Did you bring backup systems? Do you know how to improvise when things go wrong? Because when you're...
I mean, that's the thing that survival, I think, will work with Star Citizen. But again, I think it's more related to your ship. Do you have backup components? Do you have these things to get your ship back up and going? But I don't think that they will succeed at the FPS level of survival, which is a bummer because I think it would be really cool. But I think you can have survival aspects, but your survival aspects have to be your ship.
You're on a hostile moon with no resources, low suit power, and something just roared in the distance. That's not a mission anymore. That's your story.
Now, why should it matter? Okay, let's see.
Not every survival story has to end in death. Sometimes you get out, barely. Rescue gameplay, for example, could be the missing link that turns isolation into connection. Imagine activating a beacon as your power fails, hoping someone sees the signal before the storm buries your ship. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's an orgmate, or maybe it's a complete stranger answering a distress call for credits and rep. Either way, your survival becomes someone else's mission, and that opens up a whole new loop of gameplay. And it might all come down to comms. Right now, comms arrays let us track players with crime stats and determine security zones. But in the future, I'd love to see them play a much larger role. If CIG leans into their potential, integrating them more directly with the mobiGlas, the mission system, and player beacons, then being able to call for help might depend entirely on whether a nearby comms array is active. So what happens if it's not? What if the array is down, disabled, or doesn't even exist in the system that you're in? Then the answer would be no one's coming. Your beacon doesn't register. You can't call for a pickup, a tow, or even a supply drop unless you message a friend or orgmate offline. You're left to figure it out on your own, and that changes everything. With imprint viability and death of a spaceman on the table, surviving isn't just about convenience. It's about preserving your character. Each death carries weight, so escaping that situation without a respawn, without external help, becomes a story you remember. Long-term recovery matters too. Maybe you get your ship functional again, but you're still stranded with no med pens, no water, and a
I thought this was a CIG video, like made video at first. I mean, it's on the level of copium that seems that way. He's also using mostly CIG video
damaged suit.
If not all CIG
now you're scanning the terrain
videos.
for something, anything that might keep you going. A cave, an outpost, a wreck. The world itself becomes part of the puzzle. That's what survival gameplay could bring to Star Citizen. Not a burden, but moments of intensity that break up the usual loop and force you to adapt. It wouldn't be constant, but when it happens, it leaves a mark. It connects all.
Yeah, this is way too many what ifs and imagines. I agree here, but it doesn't mean you got to ask, like, can you take this video and go, can we implement survival stuff into Star Citizen and still have it be fun?
The pieces. Rescue gameplay gives medical and utility ships a purpose. Engineers become critical. Comms become lifelines. And suddenly every choice you made before the crash, the extra fuel tank, the backup battery, the component, or even possibly a survival kit, feel like they mattered. Because in that moment when the comms array is down and your beacon doesn't ping, you're not just stuck. You're completely alone. And how you...
There's literally fucking general chat in the game. I don't know. Like, there's just so many things that fight against this idea. It's so out of control. Like, it's just out of control, this idea. But we've gone so far beyond where it needs to be. This video's crazy, dude. Like, survival games are so tiny in comparison to what's on the screen. Like, dude, if I land here on this fucking pixel, the next closest thing is all the way over here. What about, you know, like what? It's all the way over here. If I land over here, I can't get over there. This is literally 5 time zones away. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Like, it's just, you can't do a survival game in Star Citizen. You would literally have to do a like what RuneScape did is like take assets from Star Citizen and make a survival game to it, like with it, right? So yeah, it's just kind of silly. And that's why I'm trying to like bounce off of the video and going, all right, well, like what from survival games can we bring in, right? I think food and drink is one thing that I argue works pretty well. It makes your character feel alive and is like, okay, I think we have to eat and drink a little too much, maybe drink a little too much than eat. But the real survival stuff, I think, is going to be with your ship. And that's kind of a bummer because I do wish that what he had here was possible, but there's just too many MMOE, and especially what we're starting to see now is like, you know, not full loot MMOE type mechanics that are just like, all right, this is never going to happen, so let's just give it up.
Survive that is what makes the verse feel real. Survival in Star Citizen doesn't have to be a constant threat, but when it strikes, it should leave an impression. It's in those moments when your gear fails, when the environment turns against you, when no one answers your beacon, that the universe feels more alive and dangerous. If CIG leans into systems like weather, power, radiation, repairs, and recovery,
somehow we need to get away from backspacing all the time. That's the point that I'm trying to take from this video. And I think that's what he's trying to take as well. Is backspacing is cringe as fuck. You want Daisy in space? You're not getting it. You're not getting it. That has officially died. That is dead. So if that's what you want, go find another video game, because that literally died with 4.1. It is dead. That has died, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. So be gone. But that's my big takeaway is backspacing breaks everything. But again, if you punish backspacing, you don't fix the core root, like the core problem of the game, right? Of everything is too big, everything is too difficult, and everything takes too long. So the solution is start over backspace. You have to fix that. And then this video, and that's why everyone's cringing and getting mad or laughing or making fun of them or whatever, is because we're all looking at the game going, everything takes too long, nothing works, game bad, backspacing easy. And then on top of all of what you're thinking, he wants to layer more shit and more punishing things on top of it. And everyone's just going, I can't. Why would I want any of that, right? It only works if like the base of the game is simple and convenient a little bit, you know? And then you get hit with this problem that comes in front of you. Like, oh, I need to eat and drink. Okay. Well, I need to find food. I need to find water. Well, it's hot out. I need to create shelter, right? That's how a survival game works. It's like, oh, it's hot out. I can't just sit out here or I'll die. And the problem with that is you can't just do that in Star Citizen. It's at way bigger, it's at spaceship level scale. So if you're going to do the survival parts, I'm not sure you can do them on food, drink, shelter, character. I think you have to do them on the ship. And if you do them on the ship, and I do think that that's what engineering looks like it's trying to be, and I think people are overreacting to what engineering is going to be, and I think that they think engineering is going to solve multi-crew gameplay. No, it's just going to add one extra person that might be doing something that you could probably do yourself. Let's Let's be real here. That you could probably do it, get out of your pilot seat, go do it for a second, come back to the pilot seat, and still solo your reclaimer, right? But what it might do is just put a couple of problems in front of you that you have to do some problem solving and maybe some preparation, maybe some resource gathering, maybe some crafting to solve. And that's what a survival kind of sandboxy experience is. And so all of that can be done within the engineering system on a ship. But I don't have a big enough imagination to, and I think I have a very large one, to see how that would function in a shipless environment in Star Citizen. Take the ship out of the equation, which is what his examples are doing. There's nothing. There's no way for any of this to work. So what I would just do is take a lot of the ideas that he has, apply them to engineering, which I think CIG has already done with fire, environment, repair, salvage, and all that stuff. And then you just do it within the confines of your ship, and that's it.
Then survival won't just be another gameplay loop. It'll be the glue that binds the rest of the experience together. But what do you think? Would you want to see deeper survival systems like these in Star Citizen?
Not the way
you think they'd add
them.
more tension, more purpose, or would they be too punishing?
Way too punishing. Because
let me know in the
already
comments.
punishing.
I'd really love to hear your thoughts. And if you want to go above and beyond in supporting the channel, then consider becoming a member.
Thank you, Arts.
You'll get shoutouts in every video, early access to upcoming content, exclusive Discord access, and help keep these deep dives and discussions coming. And if you want to explore how crafting could tie directly into this, check out the video I did breaking down everything CIG has shared so far about how crafting might work in the future. It's a system that could completely change how we prepare and how we survive. As always, thanks for watching. Fly safe, pilots, and I'll see you in the verse. Havoc out.
I thought it's a good video to bounce ideas off of. Like, sometimes you don't have to watch a video and agree with everything. You don't have to watch a video and agree with anything. But if it sparks a conversation, if it sparks, conversation, then it's a great video, right? And for me, that's what I think was good about this. Is like, all right, cool. I love survival games too, but would it work here? And if it did, how would it look? And I think, my feelings completely differ from his, but it's not like I hate the guy or I'm going to go make a Reddit thread making fun of him or anything. Right. I love to watch other people's viewpoints and stuff like that. So there's the video again. I linked it at the beginning, link it at the end. Head over there and hit the like button if you enjoyed it. And show them some love, maybe get some subscribed. Once again, that's Havoc. And yeah, thank you for the video. I think it was a really good thought experiment for me. And I just don't think anything that he said could work. Right? I just don't think it could work. And that's it.